interview with Mr. Zoltan Weiss. Would you please tell your story beginning in 1941 to 1945?
1941, I think it was the month of March, and I was at the age of a military age that was called in as a regular man or that has to go to the military. But it started in 1940 that the Jews were oppressed already in Slovakia, and we weren't given any arms except we were given uniforms that had no marks of other regular military men without the ornaments that the regular military men had. We were in Humene for about 6 months training as any other soldier in the Slovak army except without arms. We were given instead shovels in how to handle them, and when will be needed for work to build certain canalization or on roads, we should know how to handle them. In Humene we were 6 months, as I mentioned before, and then we were taken to another army camp, which was named Čemerne, and over there we were about 2 weeks or 4 weeks, and also undergoing some additional training, and then we were taken to the Tatras, and the name was of the town. Can you stop it for a minute? I have to think. The name was Liptovský Hrádok, and over there, under the Tatras, there was being built an airport, a military airport, but we were building mainly the road. And we started there, I think it was winter time, but mostly we were clearing the snow from the road, and then in springtime we started to build the road, or helping build the road, finish the road that somebody else started. I don't recall the exact time how long we were there, but I know in the summer we were taken to another camp which was near Bratislava, and it was called Zohor Lab. And Zohor was another, I should say, like a brigade from the army labor camp, and in Lab it was the brigade where I was stationed. Here in Lab we were building a canal. It was for the purpose to let the water through for canalization purposes. And here it was really hard work, digging and loading the wagons with the earth and building the canal. This, I think it was till about 1943 where we were taken to Kráľovany, which is in the middle section of Slovakia near Žilina. And here we were building a tunnel, and it lasted also about 6 months till about the end of 1943 or beginning 1944, we were taken not far from here to Banská Štiavnica. Here in Banská Štiavnica we weren't doing any work much, except we were under the Hlinka Gardis, which was much worse than the military labor camp. In other words, we were taken off the military and put under civilian control from the Hlinka Gardis, and of course it was very, very difficult. This was lasting till August 1944 or end of July, when the Slovak uprising started, and we were all taken to Banska Bystrica, and we were outfitted again as regular military and belonging to the Czechoslovak army. And we were taken not far from Banska Bystrica. I forgot the name, but it's on the border where the Slovak Germans called Schwabs were, and we were there taken to fight them. But it wasn't successful, as they were much stronger than we, and we weren't outfitted regularly, and we were beaten. And so we got dispersed, and it took us a long time to get organized again, but as history knows, it didn't last much long, the uprising. And at the end of September, a part of the army, of the Czechoslovak army, was taken to mountains called Polana, which is in the middle between Banska Bystrica and the Tatars, and there we were about 2 to 3 weeks, just waiting, see what's going to happen. There were some Russian partisans that came and tried to help us and to organize us, but it was to no avail, as the Germans attacked us and dispersed us on the mountain and all over central Slovakia where the uprising was. And so I didn't know what to do with myself, as I was at the time when the Germans attacked us. I was down a few 100 feet from the main office or from the main barracks, and I was down on a certain post with 2 or 3, 4 friends, and we came up to the office, to the barracks, and only a few were left there. And I had a friend, a Gentile from Orava, and told him the story, where can we go? I had some money that I was given prior to this a few months from Banska Bystrica from the Jewish congregation. Every Jewish boy got some money, I think it was 10,000 or 15,000 crowns. And I told this Gentile that I have some money, let us go down someplace to the farmers below the mountains and see whether we can get some civilian clothes. I had a revolver also with me, and he had a revolver. We came down in the evening in the dark, and we got into a farmer, and we told him the story. We can't go home now. The town that I come from, in Michalovce, that was already under Russians, and the Russians were pushing the Germans towards the place where we were. And so in the morning, the farmer, we gave him money. He went to the town and he bought 2 outfits of civilian clothes. We gave him our revolvers. So can you go back and see where I stopped?
Take.
As long as it's off. Well, as I said before, we went down from the mountain and we came to a farmer, and this region was called Detva. And I had money with me that I got from the congregation in Banska Bystrica, and I gave money for the farmer to buy for me civilian clothes and for the Gentile friend from Orava. Our plan was to walk down from Detva to Banska Bystrica, which is a short distance, and to go to his house to Orava, which was quite a ride, but we planned to get hitchhikes and get to his house, to his home, and wait there till the end of the war, when I can go home to my birthplace. And so we started out on the road walking, and the Germans inspected us and caught us, and they took us to Banska Bystrica, to the POWs camps, and there we stayed about 1 or 2 nights. And then we were assembled, all the POWs, and we were marching towards Studnenska Teplica, which took us about 5 to 6 hours walking in the rain. And there we came to a complex of schools. On both sides of the streets there were 2 buildings, and where we found already other POWs. That was in October 1944, towards the end of October. I found there a few friends, not too many. I think there was 2 friends, one from Homene, and I don't think the man came back. I think he was taken to Poland, and I never heard of him that he came back. And the other one, I also don't know about whether he came back or not. Something came to my mind when the farmers from Studnenska Teplica brought us some soup and bread for lunch, and I went to the post to the German soldier, and I asked him that I have a friend on the other side of the street in the building. I would like to visit him. He let me go, and I just made like I was going into the building, and I stood by the door and watching for the farmers when they were returning already to their homes with the empty dishes that they brought food for us. And so at a proper moment, I sneaked in and I joined them. And so I left the barracks and I came to the second house of the village, and I went into a house and I told the farmer my whole story. I can go home, and I would like to stay with him and help him with his work if he wants to keep me till this thing blows over. And so he said, okay, you can stay here. Have you got any identification? I said, no. By the way, when we were attacked by the Germans on that mountain, I threw all my papers away and left nothing with me. And so he said, you could stay here and we'll see. The following morning, he went to the office of the city office, to the city office, and he got me an identification card for the name. I gave him a fictitious Gentile name, and he brought me a identification card. And so I stayed there. I was helping them on the fields and other works. When it came in December, January, February, there was big snow on the roads, and so we helped clear the snow for the German army. They were retreating from Hungary and from the part of Slovakia where the Russians were pressing them. Came in March, we already heard shooting, and it was quite near to the town where I was. And so I saw movements there by the farmers and by the public that some had to go and hide for certain political reasons, And I asked my man where I stayed if I could go to hide with them. He didn't give me a straight answer, and I saw that I have to do something on my own. And in this town there were quite a few from our region where I was born, but not from the same place, but from nearby places, that they were also pushed away, or they had to run away, or the Germans took them with them. And so with one of the young fellows, we made up that we'll go to the nearby mountains and we'll stay there, we'll join the partisans. So one morning, early morning, we left and we came to the mountains and we found there a unit of partisans. And we joined them, but we didn't do anything. But we heard already shootings and heavy fighting, not too far. And one day, it took us about not even 10 days, I was in the mountains, and one morning, we see Romanian and Russian soldiers marching, and that was the sign that we were liberated. That was in end of April. And so everyone went his way. I went straight to Banska Bystrica myself, or with other people. No, I didn't see no Jewish fellows with me, and I came to Banska Bystrica. I went to it was already liberated, Banska Bystrica, and I went there to the Jewish authorities, and I stayed in Banska Bystrica about 1 or 2 days. I went to register at the Russians' office, and I told them I want to go home, where I was born. So I set out also by foot. There was no communications, rail or any, except with getting hitchhikes with Russian army trucks. And that's the story.
Were you part of the Jewish armed unit in the Slovak National Army that was directed by Yuri Spitzer that fought at Batjova?
No.
Were you part of, or did you have anything to do with, the Palestinian parachutists from
No, I had nothing to do with them.
Can you tell me about the breakup of the National Army?
I said that when we were...
Questionnaire Resistance 3B Forest. How did you get into the forest?
When, in 1944? 44, after... I got into the forest very plain. The fields were open. There was no one there. It was very easy to get in.
Were you a member of a predominantly non-Jewish group or a predominantly Jewish group?
Non-Jewish group.
What was its name?
Not just plain civilians.
It had no name?
No.
Did it later acquire more Jews?
No. They didn't know I was Jewish.
So you were the only Jew and you were a hidden Jew?
I was a hidden Jew.
Who were the commanders of the group?
I have no recollection of any. I was so short of a time in the mountains that I didn't even know who the commander was. It was a very small group.
Where did
I think that the whole group was about 15 partisans.
Where did it fight?
I don't know. We weren't fighting at all. We were just waiting there. As I said before, it took only about a week till we got liberated by the Romanian army.
Can you tell us, it's going to be a very short chronological sequence, your experiences in each of the following questions. What was your relation between the commander and the men in the unit?
Nothing. I know nothing of any commanders. We two, me and the friend, the Gentile friend, we only joined them. We didn't even know that we're gonna find them, but we just happened to find this group, a small group of partisans. I just left the village with the to get away from the village. I shouldn't be in the village when the Germans gonna retreat. That was my purpose.
Did you participate in any armed actions?
No. Armed action in 1944 under the Czechoslovak uprising.
In the forest?
No.
Were there any family groups in the forest?
No.
Were there any individual unarmed Jews hiding in the forest?
I don't know of any.
Did your unit do anything to bring Jews into the forest?
No.
Were people, including yourself, received into this unit if they were unarmed to start with?
We were received. We told the group that who we are, and they didn't tell us not to join them.
And you did not have arms?
No.
Where did your group get any arms at any time?
In 1944, under the uprising of the Czechoslovak army.
They just kept the arms?
They gave us arms, yeah. We were outfitted, as I stated before.
And they held on to them?
We held on to them, but then I gave away my, when on the mountain, on the Polana, when we were dispersed by the Germans, I gave my revolver to the farmer.
Where and how did you obtain food?
Food, where I was by the farmer, I had plenty of food, and in the mountains, the partisans had also food. They had bread.
Where'd they get it from?
They used to go down to the villages, and they got it in the villages.
Did they steal it, or did they...
No, they had no, they didn't have to steal. The farmers gave it to them.
The farmers knew they were part of it?
Right.
Was the discipline in the group that you were in harsh, strict, or mild?
There was no any action to be,
No discipline.
there was no...
Were there any women with you?
No.
Were there any children?
No.
What was your particular reason for joining that group?
As I said before, I only ran away from the village to the mountain. I shouldn't be in the village when the Germans are gonna retreat. I shouldn't be found there.
Do you remember any songs that you used to sing, or that they used to sing?
No songs.
Did you ever
That was a Gentile group, and I didn't care whether they sang or they didn't sing.
Did you take any prisoners at any time?
No. I have bad hands.
When and how were you liberated? Would you tell me again, please?
The liberation was in end of April or beginning May 1944 in the mountains with a small partisan group. One morning we woke up and the Romanian army was advancing, and that was the end of it.
How old were you when you were drafted?
20.
When were you drafted exactly?
1940.
Did you know you were to serve? Did you know how you would, in what role you were to serve?
I had an idea I won't be in regular army because it was already the trouble for Jews in Slovakia.
Could you describe the unit in which you served?
That was in the beginning.
Yeah.
I explained that in the beginning.
How many Jews were there?
Oh, the whole brigade was, my brigade was about 300.
And all Jews?
And all Jews was close to 1,200 Jewish boys. But there were 5 places or 4 places in Slovakia where there were.
No, but in your single unit.
My single unit was about 300.
Jews?
Right.
And how many non-Jews?
No.
None.
Except the the sergeants. We had no Jewish leaders, what I would say, military leaders. The leaders were Gentiles,
Who were the officers in charge?
regular army people.
Were there non-Jews among the forced labor soldiers?
No.
No. What was the attitude of the officers towards the Jews?
Bad.
Can you relate specific cases showing negative or indifferent attitudes?
Well, just like oppression.
Can you tell me a longer story than that?
Well, they used to, how should I say it? They used to give us hard labor and used to, for every little thing, either they punished us or just plain, I don't know how to explain it. I can't find the words for it now.
They were just nasty.
Nasty, right.
When were... It's all right. When were you sent to Russia?
At no time. I did not leave Slovakia. I was always in Slovakia.
Were you on the front?
Yeah, and I barely missed it. The first minute I came to the front, the bullet whizzed through by my ear. That was the first greeting.
Would you relate in detail your experiences on the front in each of the places you were sent to?
Well, I can only say we weren't a regular military unit. I had never experienced with a gun. I was given a gun. What do I know about shooting? I was shooting, yes, but what do I know how to conduct myself in a military action? And that was the reason that we were all dispersed and we were beaten.
What happened when you met the local population in the towns where you were?
The population wasn't against us.
They were Jews or not Jews?
All non-Jews.
All not.
All Gentiles.
They were not against you?
No.
What about what happened when you met German soldiers?
I never met one.
Did you ever meet any Russian prisoners?
I only met the German soldier when we were taken to the POW camps, but under the uprising, I never met a German soldier, and luckily that I didn't meet him.
And how did they treat you in the POW camps?
I was a short time there, so I can't express any emotional opinion.
Did you meet any Russian prisoners of war?
No, I met Russian partisans.
What was the attitude, what nationality were the officers that were over you?
Slovak.
What was the attitude of the Slovak officers?
Nasty.
How high was the mortality rate among the men?
Well, under the uprising, there was a few fatalities, but I don't know how many.
Did you see anything of the destruction of Jewish communities, any of the massacres of the citizens?
No.
You were never captured by the Russians?
I was never captured by the Russians, no.
When you became a partisan, were you at any time in the Ukraine?
No. I was no partisan. I only was with the partisans as a unit, and only because I ran away to the mountains, and luckily I found them there.
But you were at no time in the Ukraine?
No.
When you came back, at the end of the war, you came back to Czechoslovakia. Can you describe your evacuation or your flight?
I don't know about any flight, and I only came home to my birthplace where I was born after the war, and that wasn't a happy feeling.
And the people that were with you, those 15 men that were with you in the mountains.
Yeah.
What happened to them?
I don't know. We just all went our way. As I said before, I went to Banska Bystrica, where I went into a few Jewish homes, and I was in Banska Bystrica, I don't think more than a day, and then I went home to Michalovce, where I was born.
What was the attitude towards you during the retreat of the officers in charge?
There was no officers in charge then. That's a wrong
They had
question.
already
There wasn't.
disappeared.
They disappeared. Don't forget. Yes, I don't need.
To clarify a misunderstanding,
The town Stubnanska Teplica, where I was by the farmer, this was mainly a small little town, and mainly of Protestant Gentiles and not Catholics. And I think that helped me along with overcoming those few months that I was there. I have a hunch that my farmer knew who I was. I don't think he was that, he was an educated man and he should have known or thought about it who I was, but he never gave me a reason to believe that he knew who I was. And even I think if he would have known that I was Jewish, he would have helped me along. And that was one of the reasons that I think he knew who I was when it came in beginning April, when he had to go himself into hiding, that he didn't take me along with him. I had to do it on my own and had to run to the mountains. And mainly the whole town was Protestant, and I think my luck was that I found this town, and not a Catholic population. And that I think was my fortune.
and to clarify further, you were passing all this time as a non-Jew under fictitious
Right,
papers.
always on fictitious papers and a fictitious name, right.